Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Signature Live podcast. Today, we have a fantastic guest. When I say fantastic, I mean fantastic. So this fantastic guest proves the saying that how you start is not how you finish. Our guest today is a loctitian, an entrepreneur, and a podcaster based in Atlanta, Georgia. She was born in California, raised in Miami, and her journey through foster care, faith, and family has deeply shaped how she shows up today. She is a wife, a mom of two, a best-selling author of 2 anthologies, and the owner of her own merch line and lock studio. At her lock studio, the vibe is care, connection, and real conversation. Her story is one of resilience, layers, and love. Please help me welcome to the Signature Life podcast, my good friend, Dani Lordeus.
Thank you for having me, Roselee. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited for you to be here. So let's just already get the formalities out the way because we got to start off with our 3 gratitudes. So what 3 things are you grateful for today?
Today, I'm grateful for my daughter making it to college. She's just went there freshman at GSU. I'm also grateful for this week, my son said a new word. And I'm also grateful, I think just to be here because I feel like we've talked through your thought process of wanting to get this started to seeing it to being a guest. So I'm just excited for you.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here as well. I'm grateful for overcoming challenges because there are challenges every day.
Tell me about it.
So I'm grateful for being able to overcome challenges and know that all things are temporary. I am grateful for my family because that's at the end of the day, when you think about why you're doing things, that's who you're doing it for. And I am grateful for my ability to pivot, which is what this is.
Look, if you're not moving, you're staying still, and we ain't trying to do that.
Well, they said if you're not moving, you're not even staying still. You're moving backwards because everything else is moving forward, right?
That's very true.
So we don't want that. So that's awesome. So let's start with your journey to who you are today.
Okay.
And where, like, talk about that, how you got here, but then where in that journey did we meet? Like, what was going on at the time that we met? So talk about Dani being shaped to who she is today.
Okay. So, well, like you said, I'm from California, and in my early years, for 5 years, I was in foster care. Since then, obviously, I'm back with my mom, and our family is whole, all the other good stuff. I mean, that's another podcast we can do. But yeah, so we ended up living in Miami for a while, grew up there. Went to college in Gainesville, Florida. Go Gators. And that's where I met my husband. We dated. We've been together for 24 years, married for 19. And I had my first daughter in Gainesville. We moved up here to Atlanta for a job for my husband. And that's when we had my son. And they're 8 years apart. I don't really know what I was thinking, because I'm thinking right now I could have been an empty nester right now. But it wasn't in the cards. I don't think.
Yeah, I'm there with you because that's the age gap for my kids as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm just like, what was I thinking? But whatever. So 2020, right? We're in the thick of pandemic life. I'm in the thick of motherhood. We moved here in 2014, and I had my son in 2015. My son is autistic, nonverbal. And so, he was diagnosed at 2. So we were kind of just in the thick of that, lots of therapies. And so in 2020 is when his therapies really started to take off. And also in 2020 with my insurance, who shall remain nameless because they've since repented, autism wasn't covered because it was considered a pre-existing condition. And so his therapies were mad expensive.
Wow.
Although my husband made great money, but having all these extra expenses, I was like, how can I, come up with closing this gap, this financial gap? And I was talking to my best friend, and who's also my loctician, and I was telling her about it, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, and like all this other stuff. And she was like, why don't you do locks? And I was like, girl, stop playing with me. I don't do hair. And she was like, no, like, you're a walking billboard for me, be a walking billboard for yourself. And I was like, okay, I still didn't take her seriously, but then I was like, I started to mull it over a little bit and was like, all right, like, I love the way my hair feels when it's done. I love the way I feel when my hair is done. And she was like, you just take the class, you can learn everything. And I was like, okay. So she convinced me. And that's how I met Roselee. She was my instructor for my Sister Locks class. And we met through there. Awesome teacher, awesome class, because of who she is. My best friend, she ended up mentoring me afterwards, and I was able to take the class and everything that I learned, and then just with her extra guidance outside of class, and just was able to, form Lock Vibe Studio and build a space where women can come and feel confident and beautiful and all the things that I feel after I get my hair done. So yeah, and that's how I was born.
Wow. So we're gonna go through the framework of the show, covering the 3 C's: congruence, capacity, and compassion. And I'm gonna do them out of order because of the experience of having an autistic son is something that a lot of people, I don't know what the percentage is, but a lot of people don't experience that. So I imagine that it requires a lot of compassion for your son, for yourself, for other members of the family to handle this diagnosis. Can you talk more about like that finding that out, and what decisions and adjustments, mental processes you had to go through in order to move through life and know that you can still move through life?
So I remember getting my son's diagnosis, and my husband and I were in the doctor's office, and it was like someone died. Like, the way that they presented the information to us was, I think it was just, there was no hope, and we were like, man, I mean, we cried so much, and in that moment I felt like, what are we gonna do? Like, if the doctor doesn't have any hope, like, what are we supposed to do, and so it was really interesting. But I think my husband he's nerdy. He's what my daughter calls a cool nerd.
A cool nerd.
And so I think he immediately started to research and things like that. And we had my daughter already for 8 years before we even had my son, so she was kind of like an only child for a long time. And so now that he was requiring so much more of our time and our energy, it was hard trying to juggle making sure she doesn't feel left out or feel left behind or not included, things like that. And so we were tired a lot. And I think through all of that, we had to figure out what helped us, I think, maneuver and gel as a family, is that we had to let go of what we thought was normal, what we were used to, because we were trying to hold on to that. It made everything just friction all the time, not necessarily between us, but just in trying to get things done and processes and things like that. So once we took on the motto is every day we got to find our new normal, we were like, all right, what's our new normal today? And a lot of times my son set what that normal was, and that's okay. But I think once we took that on, made sure my daughter felt like that she had a part to play as well, making sure my husband and I still carved out time for us, because when it's a special needs kid, like they can take up all your time, all your energy. So by the time it was time for us, we had nothing else to give a lot of times. And so, yeah, we just had to figure out what our new normal was. And I think once we moved in that way, it bonded us tighter as a family, and it helped us shut out the negativity of the world, because my son, you see my son, he doesn't look like he has a disability. And so a lot of times his behavior is like, oh, people would walk up to me and be like, oh, you just need to spank him, or, you just need to snatch him up. Why are you acting like that? And stuff like that. And, that was hard. And he had for the first 3 years of his life, he only ate stage 2 baby food. So he never had to chew. So we had to take him to like a feeding program and everything. But like, even in public, feeding him out of a jar of baby food at 3 years old is like, what are you doing? Just the judgment and stuff. But I think, like I said, once we were able to just bond as a family and figure out what our new normal was, it helped us shut out the haters. So it's still a process, because even as he's getting older, cognitively, like he's 10 now, but cognitively he's like 5. And so the behaviors aren't matching what they're seeing, you know what I mean? And so even in that, so it's always something. We're always finding our new normal. It's always going to be there even as he goes, gets older. So right now, since my daughter just went to college, we're in a phase of finding our new normal again.
New normal.
With the 3 of us. I didn't realize how much. So my daughter, I was afraid that they would not be close, because they're 8 years apart. And then when I found out he was a boy, I was like, oh no, like if it was a girl, maybe they'd be close. But they're inseparable. Like when I say a prayer answered, inseparable. They love each other. She FaceTimes him all the time, even though she's in college. Like, I was very grateful for that. And so, but I also didn't realize how much energy she took of him, because, they just love to be together. So they were always playing, being together, sleeping in each other's beds, whatever. But now that she's not in the house, he's like, I need somewhere to put all this energy. So it's just mom and dad. And so we're like, whoo, girl, we tired, and so I was like, man, I just even that gratitude of just my daughter, and like how much she gave, not out of, obligation, but just because she wanted to. I was like, man, like it was a lot, they matched each other's energy. But that's amazing. So we're learning. We're learning.
So that leads us to capacity. We're going backwards.
That's fine.
So that leads us to capacity. So what it sounds like is you guys have to find a way to expand your ability to handle his energy. And so what are some of those things that you're doing that are being helpful?
So right now, we have this digital calendar called the Hearth in our house. And we're able to do routines with him because being on a schedule is something that helps him. And we're realizing it's helping us as well, because now we have to make sure we're on schedule with things. Right now we live and die by the calendar. So if it ain't on the calendar, it don't exist. And that's been very helpful. He's able, because he'll come and tell us, he said he's considered nonverbal because he doesn't speak in full sentences. So he can say some words. And so he'll be like, Mom, catch air Saturday. And we'll be like, yes, we're going to catch air on Saturday. But when I tell you, if we don't follow through on that calendar, it's like, what we doing? And so I feel like he's been really helping us be a little more responsible with our time. Nice. I will say that.
Okay.
And so I also had to cut back my work schedule because my daughter's not home and I needed to be there for my son. And I remember talking to you about it, and I felt so much guilt and all this stuff. And I was like, but burnout doesn't serve anybody. And I can't feel guilty for choosing my family and putting them first, right. And so I lost quite a few clients because of that, but I have felt I thought that would weigh me down, but I felt very free being able to be like, all right, here, I'm done. And now I'm going to spend time with my son and start his routine and and then my husband gets home and we have dinner. Like I felt freer, honestly, being able to have because, you know, when my daughter was home, I would stretch it a little longer, you know, work a little, you know, my hours and stuff like that, because I didn't have to worry about time. But now I got to be strict on time because I got to go pick them up. You know what I mean? And so, but I think it's really helped with our family time together, spending more time together. And, you know, grateful for the clients that were able to rearrange their schedules to kind of stick with me. So.
Nice. So let's talk a little bit more about this schedule. What was it before and what is it now?
Okay, so I had days where I would work till 9 p.m.
And what time would you start?
9.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
And so, yeah, now I have a hard stop at 5. And so a lot of my clients were after work clients because they were like, oh, you know, I got to take a time off. So those time slots were already always full.
Okay.
And so I lost about 13 clients.
Okay.
Because of that. But I'm also not as tired. I also have more energy to give to my family. I look forward to work the next day. You know, I realized that I was operating in burnout and didn't realize that I was.
Right.
And then and I feel like I kind of knew that, but I didn't know how to scale back without just stopping. But I feel like with my daughter going to college, me having to change my schedule, being forced into it, it was like, it's no time to try to figure it out. You just going to do it. Right. And so I'm grateful for the pressure of just, hey, you got to just jump.
That's
right. And because I don't know if I would have done it otherwise.
So how did you offset 13 clients?
I'm still trying to figure out how to offset them 13 clients. I have openings, you know, you're looking for a, transfer client loctician, want to start some locks. I got some time. My schedule isn't as full, but I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I am, definitely, can take on more clients, but I also feel like it's left room for me to get the clientele that I want. Because before I was taking any and everything, right. I was just like, whatever it is, I was bending over backwards. But I feel like now that I'm more established, I feel like I know what I want. I know what my ideal client is, and that's who I want to attract. And I feel like it's left room for me to fill those spots with those people.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm not stressing on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then, congruence. You said you know your ideal client, and now you also know what's important to you. Mm-hmm. So even if you have room, that room is not just for anybody.
No. And that's why if you are a loctician, consultations are so important because just as much as they are for the client to figure out if they want to work with us, we're interviewing them as well. Right. During that process. And so before I didn't necessarily have the space, but now I put, consultations back on the calendar for people to book, because I think it's just so important, because it's a vibe, right? Like, you want to be able to, know what, now that I, pretty much have what's important to me, I'm like, okay, do you fit within that? Mm-hmm. And it's not so much as, anybody who wants to fill this spot, let me just take you. It's more like, how do you align with me? And it's not so much as, so do you want to take me on as a loctician? No, it's like, okay, I think this can work out and I can take you on as a client, and I can say that confidently without being like, so do you want to work with me, type thing. No, you're here because you're feeling like you want to work with me. So now it's just more like, okay, is this something that I can do, that I want to take on? And it shift the mindset for me, instead of being, I guess a whole ocean pool. I'm a little pond, and this is what you got to do to get into this little pond. So, a little more exclusive.
Exclusive. Mm-hmm. I like it. I like it.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. So because we're talking about Signature Life, I'm impressed with how you're doing these other things, because when we're when we're first getting into this lock world and you're doing hair, there's really no perspective for doing other things.
Yes.
So you have 2 anthologies.
I do.
And a podcast. So talk to me about, where did you find that time when you still had all those clients?
Yeah.
If this episode is helping you, join my community, the Signature Lock Method, on the school platform, where I'm gathering locticians who are ready to make 6 figures with less than 50 clients in their business. Now back to the episode.
So, late nights, my husband has always been my biggest supporter. And he's like, you know, I feel like I always have these crazy ideas where I'm like, hey, what about this? I'll be thinking about this. And he's always like, all right, let's come up with a plan. He's like, let's make a plan to make it happen. And so I think just him taking on more, so that it created the space for me to be able to do the things that I love, or just wanted to, you know, delve into a little bit. And so a lot of my podcast recordings were at night. I'm off on Wednesdays. And so on Wednesdays during the day, I will try to, you know, record as many people as I can. And then with the books, they just kind of fell into my lap a little bit. I never thought that I would be an author, and not something that I was on my table, but it presented itself and kind of fell into my lap. And I was like, all right, you know, let's do it. Let's challenge myself. Right. And so, and then I, you know, have my merch line as well. And that's where these, you know, lock earrings come from, you know, LBS merch. Yep. And so, and these are handmade. I make all my jewelry, and things like that. So even that takes time. But I think I just having that support system with my husband, my daughter, like she was, you know, when it comes to my merch line, she be helping me with stuff, you know. It's going to be a little different now that I'm, you know, she ain't here. You know, she was my right hand, you know, but
yeah.
I feel like I just had to make sure that as long as my husband and I were here, then I was good to go. He always leaves space for me to be my little free bird self. Nice. And so I do appreciate him so much for that. He's so chill. So he's always like, you know, what is it that you need to do? Let me know, and I'll create the space. And I'm like,
shout out to the supportive.
I mean, come on, husband. Okay. My pecan tan Superman. I love him.
Yes.
So yeah, he's been making it. He's been allowing me to create the space to be able to do those things. And so it's been very, very fulfilling for me, because I love hair and I love how it makes my clients feel. You know, I love the transformation that happens in the chair, not just with the hair, but just with their confidence. When they leave, they're like, oh my God, you know, I look so good, you know. But I'm a creative, and so I love to be able to leave space for that. And you know, doing the podcast, you know, having my merch line, doing the books, it left me the space to be able to get that piece of me out as well.
Very cool. So what's your goal, like when you put all the things that you're doing together, what direction is it taking you?
So I feel like when I had my son, I kind of lost myself. And because we were learning so much about autism, we were learning so much about him, and what that looks like for us as a family. And so I felt like there was no room for me on the plate. There was no room for me on the table. And so I feel like I lost myself a lot in the things that I love to do. And I feel like this is me getting back to that. And, you know, because I used to feel like I had to choose between being a mom, a wife, a business owner, and things that I love to do. And I'm like, no, these things could be a both and, you know, and I can show up imperfectly and fully at the same time, you know, so that's what I'm doing. I felt like I needed to like even with my podcast, I was like, I gotta have all the cameras, I gotta have everything right before I can get started. And I'm like, no, because if I wait for all that, I ain't gonna never do it, you know. And so I'm learning as I'm doing, and that's hard for me because I'm a perfectionist, and so I like things to be excellent. I like to provide excellent care, you know, and so mess ups and things like that, I'm learning to go with it. So.
What's something that you tell yourself to remind yourself to put yourself on the plate?
I think something that's been helpful for me lately has been that my worth is not tied to what I do or how much I do, but more to honoring who I am. And in that, honoring who I am, and if I'm tired, that means honoring that I need rest. If I'm hungry, it's honoring that I need to eat. You know, it's if I need some girlfriend time, it's honoring that I just need to spend time and fill my cup with my friends. And so I think it's just getting out of giving myself the grace to get out of I just got to do. And that's how people will value me and all the things. And in me giving myself grace in that, I feel like it's allowed me to give grace to other people as well. Because if I'm then that's how I'm expecting for other people to be in you know, and I'm like, I got way too much going on in life to be expecting that perfection and, you know, all of that stuff from other people as well. And I'm like, I got to give myself, in order for me to be able to give grace, I got to give myself grace. So yeah, that's what's been helping me, reminding me to put myself back on the table.
That's how it works. When you give it to yourself, then you have it to give to other people, or your perspective just shifts because you can tell when someone is going through the same thing that you're going through, right? So let's talk about challenges, handling challenges inside trying to run your business. So can you think of a time when something external happened in life, but you still had to show up in your business, or how did you handle it, or you had to make an adjustment? Like what's a situation, event, something that happened that affected how you showed up at work?
So I will say my brother passed away, and I got news of it while I was with a client. And in the shock of it all, it was weird. I got the phone call. I was like talking to the detective and talking to my mom and all this stuff. I hung up, and my client is just sitting in the chair. And I don't take phone calls when I'm working, but but my family knows that if it's an emergency, to call me back to back twice, and I'll pick it up. And then I hung up, and then I immediately just went back to working. And it wasn't my client. She stopped me. She put her hand on me because she heard the conversation, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And in that moment, I was like, "I'm not." But I got to finish your hair. And she was like, what? And she was like, no, we're not doing that. She was like, you can call me when you get another availability. You know, I know, you know, we're good for it. And so she was like, you know, you need anything? You need me to stay with you until your husband gets home, you know, and all this other stuff. And I was like, no, you know, like I'm okay. I was like, I got more phone calls to make, 'cause I had to call my siblings. I was the first one that my mom told. And so, you know, she left, and then, you know, we dealt with everything. But since then, you know, like I said, being a perfectionist, you want to present well, you know, but I feel like since then, I was like, just like my clients come in, every client comes in with something, whether it be, you know, joy, grief, whatever, when they sit in our chairs, right? I think my job is not only to do their hairstyle, their hair, retighten their hair, but also to see them. And that moment with my client, she saw me, and I was like, wow, Okay, so I want to extend that to my clients. And so when I'm sad, and sometimes it hits me in random times, a song, a smell, a whatever will remind me of my brother. And it will hit me sometimes and I'll be sad and things like that. And there are times, like I said, I'm sad, I'm happy, I'm joyful or whatever. But I don't necessarily hide that from my clients. I don't let it affect their experience with me, but I don't hide it from them. You know, I'll say, hey, you know what? That song reminded me of, because sometimes they like to listen to music, they like to watch TV, they're on a Zoom call, whatever, you know. And I'll say, hey, you know, I'll share, hey, that song reminds me of my brother, you know, or something like that, or made me think about him. And so I feel like because I'm allowing myself now to show up more authentically in my space, it's giving my clients permission to do the same, you know. So there are times where with my clients, we laugh, we cry, you know. Girl, let me tell you something. It was just getting on my nerve, you know, whatever. And I feel like we have that time to just be our authentic selves, you know. And so I think that was the most transformational thing for me that has happened, that I feel like has also transformed how I operate in my business.
Yeah.
So
I can relate to that as well, because I think after you've felt what it's like to lose someone, when someone comes to tell you that they've lost someone, you can't, right? You can't gloss over it because you know what it feels like.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, you know, coming in, you know, I was like, I don't want my clients to be coming in and being like, I just lost my mom. And I'm like, whew, okay, but I got another client after you. So, you know, I'm still do your hair, you know, and just not create that space for them to be seen and be, you know what I mean? And create that space for them to do that. And, you know, just like my client did for me. And so I want them to be able to come in and have that opportunity to just be their authentic selves and whatever they're bringing in that moment.
So I can definitely relate to getting some news about losing a sibling while you're at work. What I feel like what happened for me, it was my sister. We found out at night, but I was in the middle of an establishment, like day 2 of an establishment. And I came to work because I was like, there's nothing for me to do.
Right.
So let me come to work. But then when I came to work, everybody just like helped me finish the client, which was also new to me because, you know, you handle things by yourself. But one of the things that I remember the most was when I thought I was ready to come back, because I took the time off, but I thought I was ready to come back to work. And I came in and I couldn't come out of my office to do the first client. And so I overheard the conversation with the client and the stylist in the front, that she saw my car. Why are you telling me she can't do my hair? And I just remember feeling like, wow.
Right.
Because it's the same joke with, I was pregnant. Oh, I'm going to come and sit at the bedside and let you do the front. It's the same in consideration.
Right.
Right. So also, unless we model it, and unless we draw the line that, hey, that's not funny, right? People are not going to know. And then that's how you're also, this is how you attract the right people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And for showing that you can not just be a loctician, you can be a loctician and, right? There are other things that you love if you're creative, because I'm just wondering to myself when I'm seeing the detail of these earrings, like which midnight oil you're over there, like putting these things together and then going to do hair, right? So it sounds crazy for people who are not graced to do that, but that's your thing, and that's okay. Right? It can look crazy to other people, but that's your thing. So I admire you for that.
Thank you.
Very proud of you for that.
Thank you.
You're doing amazing.
I'm trying, girl. You know what I mean?
No. Denise was on the podcast. She says trying is not a word that we use.
Okay.
Because you are doing it.
Thank you.
Right? There are levels to how you're doing it, but
Yes.
you are doing it.
You're right.
Yeah,
And perfectly and fully.
exactly.
There we go.
There we go. Is there something that you want to give to the audience, a word of encouragement, some advice, something that they can take away, put in their pocket for later?
I think that if you are holding on to what feels like you think is normal, let it go. What society thinks is normal, and find your new normal. I think that's been the biggest thing that has helped me with my businesses, with my family, and all my not little because we don't use that word, right? But all my other endeavors has really helped me to find my new normal and what that means for me. So I hope that you let go of what societal norms are and find the normal for you. And so if you guys are feeling the vibe and you want to connect with me, you guys can follow me on Instagram at Lock Vibe Studio. And or you can go to the LRV podcast, which is the Living Room Vibe podcast, where you can find me as well to connect.
And there you have it, guys. What I heard is create your normal. Do not go with other people's normal, because everybody's normal is different. And with that, I want you to share this podcast with someone that you know needs to hear this information. Thank you for tuning in. And as usual, stay congruent, watch your capacity, and be compassionate.